Okay. Hi, YouTube Live. We are now live on YouTube and going live on Veroni now. Okay.
It's also professional.
Yeah. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Naganmal and Nagambi people. We pay respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. We acknowledge that the name Baroni was taken from people of the Wadi Wadi nation without permission, and we're striving to do better for future reconciliation. Hello, namaste, and welcome back to Disha in Australia. Today we have a very special guest on board with us, Karen.
Hi, Disha. Thanks for having me.
Oh my
I
God.
almost don't know where to look, so I should look at you or there. So
You
excuse
can
me.
look at any direction that you want to.
Okay.
It's a very chill chat. I was honestly so tired of my assessments the whole day, and I was
Oh.
looking forward to it so that I can finally rewind, relax, and yap with you. So, how are you
Great.
feeling today?
I am feeling good. I'm feeling good. I luckily did not have crazy statistic assessments
Yes,
like you
oh my
do,
God.
but I certainly remember those days, and they were stressful.
So stressful. I can't even. Also, we are live on Veroni YouTube and also recording. So if you guys see us in different directions, do not mind. And hello to the people who are joining in on YouTube Live. Okay, so how has your day been?
Oh, it has been pretty stressful because basically I have co-founded a very early stage startup, and there is just so many bits and pieces that you have to do all the time. Like it never stops. So I feel like I've just woken up today and have been running. At some point, had lunch, walked my dogs, and then just kept running until I'm here now. So,
Yeah.
but you know, it's a different kind of stress. It's not like scary statistic assignment stress. It's more
Oh
like
my God,
living your
yes.
dream stress.
But I guess that
Mm.
stress is also sort of you recording your memories of that startup life and being an entrepreneurial journey where there's ups and downs and there's moments where you're filled with joy, but at the same time there's moments where like, oh, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm certainly doing this.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to describe the stress.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it is definitely a bit of a roller coaster journey, but you know, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yes.
Otherwise, it'd be boring.
No, that's the approach that we're looking for. For me, because I'm also an early stage entrepreneur, but my business is sort of in a different approach. And some days, like, I really have some existential crisis, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Why am I doing this? I have my whole life for this. But then when I'm actually working and when I am in the role, I just feel so happy. It just feels so much of myself when I am there.
Yeah.
And those are the little pockets of time and those moments that make me realize why exactly I started what I'm doing right now.
100%. Yeah.
And also because there's so many different things that I get myself into and so many different opportunities and so many people that I can work with, because my whole work is working with startups and all of these people have such great ideas. Sometimes I'm like stunned, like, how did you get so innovative? That's crazy. And just being surrounded with those people, it just changes your mindset, because as they say, you're the average of the 8 people that you spend your time with. And I would certainly say the way I used to think in my first year versus in my third year, it has changed so much, because the moment you start hanging out with people who have a better or a growth mindset, I'd say, your mindset changes. You no longer think about ordinary things and you just like aim of bigger things because your perception changes a lot. And that's very beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I completely hear you and I completely understand that feeling. So I think maybe, I don't know if this is the right way to think about it, but I feel like some people are just born with a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. And for me, because I didn't know that about me, but I think it came out throughout my life as just like not quite fitting in, if that makes sense. Like I fit in, but there's just something, there's like a part of you that can't express yourself.
Yeah.
And because my entrepreneurial journey came a little bit later in my
Yeah.
career than yours, Disha, because you started quite early. So it's more recently in this last year where I did start moving into the startup space and meeting, the whole community of startup founders. So there's a bit of a thriving community in Australia, and it just blew my mind
Yeah.
to connect with people who sort of think and feel really similar to me in this way that I've never been able to connect with other people before. And I think that's the feeling that you're describing. It's so lovely,
Yeah.
to be able to have that part of you that's been repressed, particularly in the corporate world where sometimes
Yes.
they don't want you to be too different and
Yeah.
break the mold,
Absolutely.
for it to just express itself. And I completely agree.
I feel entrepreneurship gives you wings to express yourself boldly and the way you want to express yourself. Because when you're working under a job, you are entitled to do things according to that job, and you do not have that level of flexibility or the time to choose the things that you want to do. I've had some corporate experience before getting into entrepreneurship, and I used to feel like I had so many ideas, but those ideas could not be executed because they did not match the company's tone or something like that.
Yeah.
But when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I felt I could express myself, my ideas, and my vision as I want to. And that was so powerful.
Yeah.
I have
100%.
never felt that powerful ever in my life. And I feel that's the beauty of entrepreneurship.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree.
And I think so last season there was a guest on our show who mentioned that the same thing that you mentioned, that some people are born with an entrepreneurial mindset. So he said that when the city of New York was made, the roads were already wide. So, and that's why it's also one of the most known cities and one of the cities where people want to go hustle and live, because the city always had a wide mindset.
Yeah, right. Okay.
He said it in that way.
Interesting.
When he said it, it sounded more insightful. When I'm saying it sounds funny, but the way he said it was like, so when some people are already born with a particular mindset and they follow it, and they don't even realize it that it's in them until there's like a particular incident that happens that triggers that, and then they're on it. This relates that thing back to psychopathology, which I should not be mentioning, but yeah. But it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. That's a really interesting analogy with the wide streets of New York. I'm just trying to think about, are the streets wide? Because I spent a little bit of time in New York a few years ago, and maybe you're right. The streets are kind of wide. The blocks are really wide. It takes a long time to walk one block. So yes,
I've never been to New York,
yeah,
but the
it
way
is
he mentioned,
very entrepreneur, like a lot of hustle culture over there.
Yes.
It's very, very energizing and exciting. So yes.
the way he mentioned was like the city already was made so wide so that it could encapsulate a lot of people. And so it's like your mindset too. If it's made for growth, it will grow. Whereas, like we all have seen some people might spend like 70 years of their life doing corporate and never thought about doing business. And some people might want to just escape that cycle and start their business very early.
Yeah. I guess I do 100% agree with that. I guess the nuance that I think about when you say that, it's related to risk, in the sense that if you started off your career moving down the entrepreneurial path, like that's the path that you've taken, and you put your all into it. But I think there is an extra challenge where you started off in a different path, and then you have to suddenly switch. There is a real sense of risk taking that goes along with that, which was quite challenging, because I remember, always hearing about people who changed their careers, midway through their career, and, you hear about it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. But then when I actually did it, I couldn't believe how scary it was, because you've become comfortable with, a particular domain expertise, you've built up skills, you've built up a reputation, and then all of a sudden you're voluntarily going back to zero. So
Yeah.
when I first, so I quit my job at the end of 2023 because I realized that it just wasn't going down a path in my life that I wanted to go down. And when I first quit, I remember trying to describe the feeling to my friends, what it felt like. It's like everyone's on this ladder, right? Like, say, I guess it's like an analogy for the rat race. So you're climbing the ladder your whole life. You're trying to get to the top, and you look over there, and everyone's sort of like roughly the same place. And then all of a sudden, you've decided, I don't want to be on this ladder anymore. I want to be on my own ladder.
Yeah.
So you get off the ladder, but now you have to build your own ladder from scratch. And then you're at the bottom on the ground and you're looking up, and everyone is like, like 2 stories off the ground, and you're right at the bottom. And there's just this feeling of so much self-doubt about, do I want to build my own ladder?
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to do this? I was up so high. Like, why did I do this? And so I think, yes, partly it is, maybe some people just don't think wider, but I also think partly it is just, it's a lot of risk and it's a lot of fear that not everybody may want to take, or maybe even be in the position to take. Like, for example, we've got real financial practicalities, so some people might not be in a position to just quit and change their life one day.
No, absolutely, it is very scary, and I feel like for myself too, I feel it is so scary. But I think I try to look at every experience as a part of learning, but at the same time, you're absolutely right. When you have a job and it's going to pay you well, and all of a sudden you just feel like, maybe I should start my business. But at the same time, a lot of people do not leave their jobs until they know that their business is going to actually make them the money that they want it to make. And I would 100% agree on that, because the first job that I started, I still do that sometimes, because I'm still like, what if things don't work out? I still need my backup, even though I go to that job like once in 3 months now for 3 hours, but I never left it. I'm still technically an employee there. And
it's probably smart.
Yeah, and that is also okay. It has always worked out in my favor, because I've done 3 different businesses in 3 different years. So it's so
good on you.
Yeah. So that's why I always wanted my job to be like, if something does not work out, I am still technically an employee there, and I can fall back.
Yeah. To be honest, that's probably what I should have done before I just was like, no more safety net. I just have to make sure that my startup works out.
So I never left that safety net, and towards the point once in last year, I was like so ready to like leave, because I was not working for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden after 3 months I'm there, and like sometimes you feel like, oh, the last time I was here was 3 months ago. That's crazy. And then I was so ready to leave, but then I was like, there's no harm in actually being here. It's just 3 hours. And I feel like that's also the kindness that my managers have shown towards me, because they also understand what I do, and also like fully support me in like my entrepreneurial ventures, and they like root for me. It's so cute, because when I first started that job, my manager was like, my daughter is 19 too, and I was 18. And I was like, okay, treat me like your daughter. And I kid you not, to this day, they just tell me to call them like my mom.
Aww. Isn't that so good to have such supportive people in your life?
We celebrated Mother's Day last year, and they also like celebrate my birthday every year. It's so beautiful, and it just feels like a second home to me. And that's also the reason I can't leave that job. The beauty of human connections I've made over there that just makes me realize, no, I don't think I'm ready to leave, you guys. You guys are too good to be left.
Because connection is just so powerful. I mean, it's like I feel like we don't talk about it enough, because I feel like a lot of times it's taken for granted, but actually at the bottom of so many things is connection. So just bringing it onto a topic that we're meant to be talking about anyway. just a little deviation. So I've been talking to quite a lot of university students over the last few months in building our startup, which is around social health. And just like a side topic that started coming up again and again with students is them talking about networking. So a lot of students are really freaking out about, how they're going to get a job afterwards. And, we've all heard that old adage of how, you get jobs through networking. Networking is really important and things like that. And then you talk to them and nobody knows how to do it, which is fair enough. Because when I was at uni, I had no clue how to network. Like, I've actually had some really awful, embarrassing stories about networking where I've just completely made a fool of myself. Just so awkward. And yet at the same time, it's this thing that you have to do. So I feel like the way that we currently think about networking is that it's very sort of transactional. Like you have this thing that you want from them and you go find the specific person that can give you that thing. So for example, if you study something and you want to get a job in this field and you go, I don't know what people do, but look on LinkedIn or go to, conferences and try to talk to somebody who's doing that job. But it's actually very transactional. Whereas when I actually went into the workforce and had to, just constantly network for my job, I realized that really good networking is actually built off of the backs of friendships and real connection. I mean, the way that you actually start networking is you probably started chatting to them about something completely unrelated to work. Even if there's like a packet of Tim Tams in the middle of the room and you're both like, oh, it's that time of the day. Like, I really need some Tim Tams. And then you both share a love of the Tim Tams and how you really should both cut out sugar.
Yes.
And it's just these little things that sort of grow over time and it builds a sense of trust, a sense of human connection. And it's kind of like the almost like a bit of a social lubricant, so that when you do actually need to be a bit more transactional and work together or, whatever, it's a lot easier and it feels more natural and you feel better about yourself because, you've built up that sort of genuine connection before you asked for things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with the concept of starting to talk unrelated. I remember the first ever networking event I ever attended. I just saw so many people and I didn't know what to do. I just entered into the room and everyone was talking to some person, and it just felt like everyone had their own groups and they just knew each other, and it felt awkward for me to like stand right next to them seeing that these 2 or 3 people are already talking. It just felt so awkward. Like I
like
was
you're waiting in
so
line.
scared. And that's when I just went near the food table. I was like, might as well eat if I don't get to network. Let me make use of the free food. That was where I found this one lady who seemed as confused as me. And she looked at
probably
me.
me.
I looked at her and she was like, do you know what we are doing here? And I was like, no, it's my first time in a networking event. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing here. And she said, me too. And I was like, we just became that girl's girl moment. We're like, me too. Oh my God. And we started talking and we kept talking for the entire 1 hour. Because we didn't know what we were doing and what was networking. But she was my first official network. And after that, we have attended so many networking events, not me and her together, but apparently every networking event I go, I see her. Every networking event I go. And you know how whenever I see her and she's talking to someone, or whenever she sees me and I'm talking to someone, the first thing she says is like, you know where we met? We met at this networking event. That was our first networking event. We didn't know what we were doing. And that's how we became friends. Hi, I'm this. Nice to meet you. That's an introduction always. At this point, I just know the exact words that are going to come from her mouth. And it is so cute and so funny. And I think it's not just like people you work, but also the beauty of human connections that you form. I think everyone is just like a beautiful human inside, and it's not just for work that I'm talking to you so I can get something out of it, but because we are humans
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
should be talking. So yeah.
You are speaking to my heart, Disha. This is something that I care about so much. So, you know, when we started on this social health journey, my co-founders and I, we did lots and lots of research into what connection actually looks like how does it actually come about in real life, in practice. And it's such a big topic, you know, there's so many different expressions of connection. But you know, we I think we ended up coming down to just some fundamental truths for ourselves. I don't know if this is replicated in research, but one of the things that we sort of realized was when we talk about connection, like what does it mean to feel connected? What does it mean to feel socially fulfilled? And all it is that your true self, and your true self, by the way, your authentic self has all these different facets. So,
Yeah.
you know, Disha, you know, you've got the you who's an entrepreneur, you've got the you who's the student, you've got the you who's the friend who, you know, maybe likes to do a particular type of activity, and the family Disha and all that kind of stuff. All of these different parts of you just needs a place to express itself, to breathe, for somebody to understand it, to see it, to connect with it, you know, engage with it. And so you feel accepted. And that's what feeling really connected just means, that all of these little bits of yourself has a place where where it can breathe and you can be authentic.
Yeah.
And when we were looking into what connection looks like, that's kind of all it was. So you're right, like when we talk about, you know, connection appearing in all these different places, I think it's just a natural expression of our humanness to try and get those different parts of ourselves seen, feel, you know, heard, accepted, loved, appreciated, all those good words. So yeah, even at work.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And I have a real life example of that, because remember when you met me after I recorded the social media video of yours, and you said you are so calm, and I could not believe how you were all over the place when you're recording. Because there are so many versions of ourselves. Because
Sorry, I just want to really interrupt and just explain this. So Disha has been helping me with some of our social media for Dapple. So by the way, our startup is called Social Creatures, and we're releasing this social health app called Dapple. And I have really very little social media experience. I reached out to Disha and she said she would help me. And she recorded this video, and I was like, Disha, please record something that will really appeal to, you know, Gen Z university students. She comes back with this video, and it was like so on point. It was like, I don't know, I call it, I know everyone like laughs at millennial stuff about how we pause before we record, but Gen Z has this thing that I'm going to call the Gen Z shake. It's like you can't hold your phone still, and your face is like right up to your thing, and you're always screaming at it. Anyway, I can't do that. I can't do that. But then when Disha gave me the video, it was like exactly that trend. And I was like, oh my God, this is a viral video. And then I caught up with her again, and I was like, oh, Disha, that was awesome. And then it occurred to me, I was like, wait a minute, the Disha that I see is really calm. And I just had this moment of like discombobulation, of just like cognitive dissonance, when I was like, who are these? Like, who is Disha? Who is this Disha? It's quite funny.
Yeah, it is very funny, because I get to hear that so much. I have so many different modes, and I have so many different parts of my personality, because I could be like, when I'm talking and when I am in these entrepreneurial conversations or when networking and stuff, I'm so calm. Like,
Yes.
I listen to everything. I'm actively listening, and I'm thinking, and I'm rationally thinking. But at the same time, when I'm at social media, I'm a different personality. I'm like super hyperactive, and I'm like recording stuff, and I'm like saying so much. I'm like yapping and yapping, not stopping. And then my personalities are also different with different sorts of friends. Because like some of my friends understand my girls personality, where it's like we are just obsessed over these new makeup trend or these new nails, and we're just like being so happy about it, and you know, just buying new clothes and going out for drinks. Whereas some of my friends, I have a completely different personality for them, which is more like where I could actually have emotionally intelligent conversations with these people, and it's just so different with different people.
I agree. I think that's what I'm talking about, where these different authentic parts of you expresses themselves. Because in my friendship group, I have very similar, like I have the girls you pamper yourself with, like exactly that, where you
Yeah,
just talk about like Korean skincare or whatever.
exactly.
And then the friends that
Which
you've
face mask should I wear
yeah.
now?
And yeah. And then the friends you've known forever, where if you had a really hard day, you could sort of like unleash the deepest
Yeah.
part of yourselves. And then the friends that you just want to go out and have fun with, you know, even friends that are very specific. Like I've got my dog mum friends. All
Yeah.
we like literally our entire
Yeah.
conversation is just our dogs. Just our dogs. And then I've got my yoga friends where
Yes.
all we talk about is
Is
yoga,
yoga.
like nothing else.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it, all of it.
Same in
And
here.
yeah.
In uni, I have study mates.
Yeah.
We only study. We don't talk about our personal life. We don't talk about anything else. We don't even gossip about people. We just like sit there. You're studying, I'm studying. That's the only purpose of us meeting today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, right, you know, when you know there's a part of you that wants to be expressed and it's not, sometimes you can't even describe what's wrong. So,
Yeah.
you know, before when we were talking about before you sort of found your entrepreneurial network, and you just knew that there's this part of you that couldn't be expressed, and it's only when you meet these people you're like, oh, like they get me, like, oh, this is the part that's been missing. So one of the things that we realized was that obviously, like, if you can get all the parts of yourself expressed, like, that's amazing, but for the majority of the people there's always a part that can't be expressed, either because they haven't found the right people, because maybe they feel, you know, ashamed or embarrassed about that part, you know, because there's all these kind of stereotypes placed on people. And it's when, and I don't know what this threshold is, so if anyone knows any research, like, please let me know. It's when there seems to be a threshold where if you don't have enough of the real parts of you, like there's a place where you can express them, then that's when you start to feel lonely or like disconnected, right?
Yeah.
And I should also say you can express them alone. So some of these parts you express alone. Like that's why people having alone time is really important, because there will be parts of you that you can only breathe when you are just by yourself. But yes, it's just not having enough space in your life to let all these different parts of you out somewhere. That's when you start to sort of like, when things don't feel right and you can't put your finger on it, but something is wrong and you don't know why. And it, you know, social health is so important because this connection, it's not just, you know, nice to have, it's so fundamental. Like I feel like when we talk about health, you know, the first thing you think of is like medical health, but then we've got all of this well-being stuff now. Like, you know, we've got mental health is really big now. You know, all that physical, I can't speak today, but you know what I mean? Like all the traditional stuff, we don't really talk about social health. And social health is 100% related to all of this. Like if we think about our health, our well-being in a very comprehensive way, your ability to feel socially connected, socially fulfilled is a huge part of your entire sense of like health and well-being. And I say that because, and I'm sure, you know, you've heard before, and I know you've heard before, Disha, because I've talked to you about it. We're in the middle of a huge loneliness epidemic around the world. Do you know 25% of the world, that's like 2 billion people,
Oh, wow.
yeah, have a problematic level of loneliness or social disconnection. So that is huge, right? And even in Australia, there was a study done, State of the Nation, by End Loneliness Together, and they said that young adults, which is 18 to 25, I think the figures, and I don't quote me exactly, but it's something like 37% of people, young people, who are problematically lonely. So what's insane about all of this is that when we think about loneliness, it's got this stigma attached to it, which is really awful, because, you know, when you talk about loneliness, you're thinking of someone who has maybe like no social skills, maybe lives in the basement with their mom and some cats and never, you know, goes outside or whatever. But it's not true. Like it's such a common experience and experienced in such regular mundane ways. So it's as simple as, you know, if you're at uni and you going to a class and that early bit when you first sit down at a tutorial or something, right? And there's like 5 minutes before the tute starts, and you just sat at a random table, and you're forced to engage in that sort of like awkward small talk. There's that, even that part is an expression of loneliness, because you feel like you have to engage in this surface level small talk, but you wish you could just, feel connected to them and go, oh my God, like, how was your week? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're on a table with friends. So it happens a lot. And, for young people, the most annoying thing is that everyone thinks it's easy to make friends when you're young, right? So we did like
I know.
50 plus hours of interviews with people of all different types. And you know what people say who are not at this age, right? Like older people are like, oh my God, like I wish I was back at uni. It was so easy to make friends. And then you talk to teenagers, they're like, oh, high school's so hard. Can't wait till I go to uni. I'm gonna have so many friends. And then you talk,
you're changing accents.
and then you
Totally.
yeah, totally. And then sorry. And then you get to uni and they're like, well, it's not that easy, because like I'll just tell you about this experience that I had, which when I spoke to more uni kids, they actually reflected this back to me, so it's still happening. In my first year, I had 4 classes a semester. I saw the same people in all my classes because we're doing the same courses, right? Like everyone's doing the core subjects, so we're all in the same classes. And, you start to get to know people by name, and, you have like little small talk and stuff. And, some of them you're like, oh, I could be friends with them, and others you're like, oh, maybe not so much. Anyway, there was like a couple of people in my classes that were in multiple of my classes that I saw all the time, and I really wanted to be their friend. Like I could just tell we have like the same energy. I was like,
our wavelengths matched.
Yeah, our wavelengths match. I was like, we're gonna have a lot of fun together. Like you, my girl, and I couldn't bring myself to like go beyond the surface level conversations. Like I would maneuver myself to like sit at the same table, as them in class. And then like, every now and then I'd be like, oh, so what'd you do on the weekend? But like it never really went anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it was so hard to go, do you want to go get lunch like after class or something? So it literally took me, I reckon, the entire year. So not even the first semester. So at the end, at the end of the first semester, everyone's like, oh my God, let's all go to the pub together and, blah.
I've never had that moment ever.
Wow, really?
Please, someone ask me that. I would love to go to pub together. Please.
I bet you there's so many people who are like, I wish I could be friends with Disha, but it's making that first move. And like, so for me, right, even though like, the last class of the semester, we all went, had a drink or whatever, even then couldn't be friends. It took until the second semester of seeing them in another bunch of classes, like a whole bloody year, before I don't even know who, one of us was like, hey, do you want to like get like dinner next week, like outside of the uni, outside of uni? And that was how we actually started the friendship. And this experience is so common, not even just for uni students, like even when you get into the workplace, it's hard to make friends as an adult. People, it's really hard. It's this like, I don't even know what it is. I think it's something to do with that social anxiety, fear of rejection type thing, which is so common because you're like, oh, maybe they've already got a social circle, like they're not looking for friends, or like, oh, maybe they think I'm weird or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
I feel so much same in that, because I never made those first moves to be friends, but people did make first moves towards me. And that was so cute because I am like really good friends with these people. I made one time a first move, which I remember I was walking to work, which was at the Canberra Center, and I see this girl who's also walking towards Canberra Center. And I was like analyzing her first, like, looks like a uni student, looks like a new student, but not sure. So I like start matching my pace with her, and she looked at me and I looked at her and we smiled, and then we still keep walking. We haven't said hi yet. And I was like, you know what, are you an ANU by the way?
Yeah.
And then she's like, yes, I am. And I was like, oh, nice, I am an ANU too, what's your name?
Yeah.
And then Canberra Center isn't that far away, guys. So we were there pretty early. So I was like, okay, how about you follow me on Instagram now? So and she did. I followed her back. After 3 months, so 3 months, none of us message each other. 3 months later, I receive a message from her saying, "Hey, I hope you remember me meeting 3 months ago while walking to Canberra Center. I was just wondering, you seem cool. Do you want to hang out?"
Props to that girl. That is a hard message to send.
And I was like, "Of course, yes, please, let's
Yeah.
hang out."
Yeah.
And we did hang out for the first time that time. And we hung out so many times. And last week, I was narrating the same story with her to another friend who was also hanging out with us. And it was so random because I didn't like, for me it was like so weird to like, match my pace. I didn't want to feel like a creep stalker or whatever. And
Yeah.
then I was like, "Are you near new? Okay, follow me." That's so weird. I just did it. So,
Yeah.
but we're really good friends now. So I think that sometimes it's just that first move. Also, my best friend, Ivy, which was on the show last week, you know how we became friends?
How?
So we were sitting in the class. She comes, she sits right in front of me. So our table was like this, how we are sitting. So she comes and sits right in front of me. And she said, "Are you Disha?" And I felt like, yes.
Who are you?
And then she's like, "Oh my God, I love you so much." And I was like, "How?" And then she said she follows me on Instagram. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And we had such a nice conversation. Like, we just couldn't stop laughing. Like, our vibes matched so quickly. It was just so natural. And she met me the day before my 20th birthday. And it's so crazy because I think she's just like a soulmate version of mine, like two humans in different bodies but just have the same thinking. And just before meeting you, I was listening to her voice notes, and she was like mentioning she saw me in her dream last night, and I sent her the same message that morning that I was thinking about you this morning. And she sends me she saw me in her dream last night. And that's
That's
so
so
wholesome.
cute.
I
That's so
know.
cute. There's a term for that, which I only recently learned just through our research, which is it's called friendship chemistry.
Yeah.
So chemistry doesn't just happen, the romantic chemistry, which is normally what we think about. This friendship chemistry happens too, where you just like, it's that vibe that you talk about, like when it matches, like you both feel it, and then you just want to keep engaging. So and I think I don't remember what components are part of it, but I know that these researchers that I was reading about, they broke down what are the elements that help you predict when you have friendship chemistry, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very cool. So I'm very keen to look up for friendship chemistry.
Yeah.
Because that seems very cool. And also, like, some friendships just make you feel so much about yourself.
Yeah.
And taking it back to loneliness, I felt so lonely after my friendship heartbreak with one of my bestest friends.
Yeah.
But I guess meeting these all new people also helped me express a part of me,
Yes.
which I felt that I could not in that friendship, because the whole time I just felt that I had to downplay myself
100%.
to make sure that that friendship works. And eventually it did not, because until and unless you both are not completely your authentic self, those relationships or friendships do not work.
100%. So I was thinking about this recently as well, because we have some commonalities, Disha. I had a friendship breakup basically on my birthday, like
On
yours
my
did.
birthday.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
sucks.
worst.
I feel like it's kind of like when breakup, just like general romantic breakups happen in special
It's
anniversary
worse.
times.
It's
It's
worse
like,
than a breakup. I mean, I'm not kidding. It just like breaks
it hurts.
you.
Yeah.
And also because like women friendships are more,
Really intense.
yeah, and they're very close too. And when they break up, that hurts more than a breakup, 100%.
Yeah. So with my friendship breakup, we were friends, I would say, for probably like 13, 14 years, like a really long time. Really long time. So
that would hurt really bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like it hurt, you know why I reckon it hurts? It's because when women friendships, like you really open yourself up to them, like the really close ones. So when it ends, I think it's really, really easy, just like in a romantic relationship, to start going, oh, was it me? Like, there's something wrong with me,
Yeah.
and that's why this friendship ended. Or to push the blame onto them, like,
Yeah.
oh, like they suck in this way, rah, rah, rah. But so this friendship breakup of mine, it was really, really painful. But weirdly enough, when I think about that friendship, I have really, really good feelings about the friendship, because for the majority of it, um, it was wonderful. Like, we
Yeah.
met at a time where we had that chemistry. We were in the same place in life. We really understood each other. We helped each other and supported each other from really tough things. And then, life kind of changes. Like, you change as a person, your value changes, things happen to you, and your lifestyle changes. And I think after years, we just weren't growing in the same place anymore. And I think, like, I reckon it was about year 7 or 8, I could feel that
Mm.
I didn't feel as comfortable as I used to in this friendship. I couldn't put my finger on why. And just
Mm.
like you said, like, I felt I didn't want to let go, because when you have history, right, and
Yeah.
you've got this like sunk cost fallacy, like you've put in all this effort, so you don't want to have it disappear
Yeah.
and die. So you try to mold yourself into maybe into the old role that the two of you had when that friendship was really good. And then you start to resent it because that's not who you are anymore, right? So with me and my friend, like, our values had really changed, and there were topics. We used to be able to talk really openly about anything. And then all of a sudden, there would be these topics that would come up that I knew would cause tension and
Yeah.
sometimes small arguments, and I didn't want to go there. So we would tiptoe around these topics, but the feeling of tiptoeing made us feel like strangers, like we felt distant, like we had this thing that we couldn't talk about. And then I realized we were fighting more, and like, having arguments more and more. So when the big fight sort of happened, it was really hurtful. But at the end of the day, for me, all it meant was that we had become different people, and it wasn't because either of us were bad friends. It just wasn't right for this period in our lives anymore.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Because for me, same thing. When me and my ex best friend first met, um, it was because we just started out in uni. We were so new. We just matched so instantly. It never felt like something that was forced. But when you grow in your uni life, you just become a different person. And also, like, not just in your uni life, but in life in general. Um, and that's completely okay. That does not make any of you a bad human. But at the same time, keeping that thing or like forcing that thing just makes it worse. And that's what I was realizing, because even before the like we separated, I don't know what word should I use using here. Even though before the fight, it wasn't even a fight. I don't know the words, but you understand what I mean. um I think I told my mom before that I don't think this friendship is going to work out anymore. And that was way before the friendship ended. And the day it ended as well, I told one of my friend before that thing happened. And because you can feel it, you can just your gut tells you the things before
Yeah.
that happens, and your body is your biggest indicator. And I started feeling the distance, but at the same time, I had so many beautiful memories and so many different things we
Yeah.
did together.
It's hard to let go.
And it's so hard to let all of these things go, just letting them go. And at the same time, if I'm holding to that, it's going to hurt me more.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, I read this one quote somewhere that when things are going to end, just give them a beautiful end and just stop it there, so
Yeah.
that you don't ruin your memories, and at the same time you don't ruin yourself.
And yeah, I mean, you're not the only one to struggle with that, because I think You know how we're always talking about like best friends for life? Best
Yeah.
friends for life. That's like the standard.
Yeah.
It's not even the goal, it's the standard. And I think there's something kind of um not, I don't want to say insidious because it sounds so negative, but I think it's a bit problematic because when we think about what like a best friend for life is, that's literally saying that you made a friend, say
Mm.
in at high school when you're a kid, and the two of you never changed so that you continue
Yeah.
being friends forever, which is crazy because you will. So if you happen to have had a friend who grows with you through life, like, wow, congratulations, like that is so rare, so special, like such a diamond. But that shouldn't be the bar that we measure friendships with, because you know how we have this hierarchy of like, oh, there's friends for a season, friends for a reason, and then there's best friends for life. Well,
Yeah.
actually, friends for a season, friends for a reason are just as important. Like
Yes,
they
absolutely.
fulfill you in those areas, like the particular part of yourself that needs connecting, or in a particular period of your life, and those friendships are just as beautiful and as worthwhile. And I actually think it's kind of nice that we don't have to be have this same friendships we have our entire lives, because it gives us so many
Yeah.
opportunities to meet new people. Because as you're saying earlier, you are a product of the
8 people.
eight
Yeah.
people that you surround yourself with. So if you meet new people and become friends with new people, imagine all of these different parts of you that can
Yeah.
grow.
Absolutely. And even if things don't work out, you still learned a lot. You made memories, there's opportunity for you to grow. And, when even my friendship ended, I still love all the memories we made. I never deleted those memories. And I don't think I ever would. I think it was hard for me to see them again for a little while,
Mm,
but, and also hard for me to see the person again for a little while,
mm,
because in my heart I also knew that if I want, we can go back to being friends again if we just sit down and talk about it. But at the same time, the issues, like the real issues, would still not be sorted, and in a way that was a bit of suffocation for myself and wasn't fair for myself to do that. um and so just stopping yourself can also make you have so many self doubts, like, am I the one who did wrong, or should I put the blame to the other person,
mm,
like you previously also mentioned. But at the same time, I think when there's a confusion, just stop it there. Just give it a beautiful end
mm,
and move to the next chapter of your life. The memories are still beautiful, and you get to make new memories, you get to meet new people, and you get to express yourself in the ways that
mm,
you couldn't do previously. And it is very beautiful
mm,
because that's the opportunity for you to grow and learn, but in a different way with
mm.
different people. And you know how it's the passenger theory, like people will go when their stop is there, but that doesn't mean that you have to go with them. You keep going into your journey.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this kind of vibe come out when I was talking, like doing our user research. So a lot of the times when people think about uni, they're like, oh, it's really hard to break into cliques. It's really hard to break into cliques, and that is 100% valid. It is hard to break into cliques, but what people talk about less, which is actually just as challenging, is breaking out of cliques.
Mm.
And when I say breaking out of cliques, it's something like that. Like, maybe you went from high school to uni and you want to, change yourself. You have a new identity that you want to explore. And it's difficult for you to sort of step out of your comfort zone from, the group that you used to be with to try and, meet new people and maybe explore different parts of yourselves. And that's really challenging. Like when I went to uni, I went to Melbourne Uni. So I went to uni in the exact same city that I was in, right? So I went into uni with like my high school friends. And I remember like, oh, like I want to put myself out there, but it's so comfortable just to
Mm.
hide in your little high school friendship group, even when that environment is not serving you anymore, particularly because they're going out and making new friends, and that little group that you had, it gets sort of like flimsier over time, and everyone changes, and the next thing you know, like the you kind of are like, oh, where did all my friends go, because they've like made all these other ones. And I think that at the time as well, like I also almost felt guilty. Like if I went and made other friends, then they would think, oh, why is Karen going to do that? Am I not enough for them? Anyway, there's just all these little subtle things underneath that makes it really difficult to even just break out as well as break into cliques, which is difficult about uni.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being conscious of the time.
Oh.
We're a bit over. I absolutely agree with that, and I feel that for me, uni was a completely different experience because I'm international, and all my high school friends are in India, and just like coming to a new country and starting your life from scratch was so scary. And I feel like, but that did not make me lose my friendships back home. Even they actually made it stronger, I feel, in a way, because now we have different journeys that we are following, but some of the experiences are so much similar, and so many different things that we talk are like universal experiences, and they just bind us together. So like even if you move countries or move places, the real ones stay. So people who are meant to be in your life will always be in your life, and you can still reconnect with people. I met one of my really close friends after 7 years in Melbourne. We did not talk for 7 years, and then I met her in Melbourne last year. um, it was one of the most beautiful experiences for me, and I have a little card that she wrote for me before I left, and I have stuck it on my study wall, and I see it every day, and it just makes me reminds that I have so many things to be grateful for. But yeah, lastly, I'll just open it up for you, Karen, to talk about Dapple a bit.
Oh, yes. So this whole chat has been like a really good way to sort of frame what we're doing. So we're trying to build what I think is the world's first social health app, and we're calling it Dapple. And basically, what it is we want to build something that really helps people connect with each other in a more genuine way, helping people be able to find those people that they feel like they can express their authentic self with and really complete their social health circle, and in a way that is, there's no swiping, there's no bios, there's no followers. It's just that sort of shared energy, vibe, intent, chemistry that we were talking about earlier. And the other thing is, when we were doing the research for this, there are all of these invisible barriers that stop people making friends. So we've talked about social anxiety and fear of rejection, but then there's also that, how do you catch up again?
Yeah.
How do you send the message and make plans? What if you live on the other side of the city or even different states? Like how, that's going to be very difficult, because it takes time to build a friendship. So for example, research says it literally takes 250 hours to go from acquaintance to close friends. So we also built our design intentionally to try and make that smoother. So it's all deeply informed by social psychology and behavioral science. And we really want to try and create this app that really reflects how human connection actually happens. So it's not just like a random, another Bumble BFF or something like that.
Yeah.
We are currently deep in design, but we're hoping to launch our betas with ANU students very soon. It was meant to be next month. It was meant to be this month, but it might get pushed out a little bit because it's really hard to make. But if you're interested, please follow us on Instagram at Hey Dapple, or head to our website. Hey Dapple, so literally like hi, like HEY,
Yes.
DAPPLE, heydapple.app. And tomorrow, Disha.
Yes, I was gonna bring that.
So tomorrow, I'll just put it in. The Psych Society at ANU is having a careers fair from 6, I think.
From 6 p.m. onwards in the Merida building, and we would have a lot of startups and entrepreneurs coming, and a lot of people within psychology. So you would get the opportunity to meet and greet with psychology students, entrepreneurs, organizations, basically anyone related to psychology. And Dapple is coming too.
We are going to be there. And if you come along, we've got really cute little goodie bags
I want
that
to
you're
see
going
that.
to
I'm gonna take the
love.
first one, and
Yeah,
then
they are so cute. Like I would totally
oh,
get one if I wasn't giving them
oh
out.
my god.
So come and say hi, come and meet
Yeah.
me and talk more about all of this stuff. I live and breathe social health, friendship, and connection. So yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in via YouTube Live and Veroni. And thanks, Karen, for being a part of Disha
Thank
in
you,
Australia
Disha.
today.
Thank you, Disha,
It
for
was
inviting
such a
me.
pleasure to have you. And to everyone who's following or listening or would be listening before tomorrow, I would absolutely love your presence at the Career Fiesta, and the tickets are free. It's also one of the biggest events that I'm organizing, so I would really love to have a lot of people. So thank you so much to everyone, and I will see you all next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Shine Australia. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.